Okay, you've decided to become an English teacher, but you're not graduated in the area. What now? What should you do? Hello, everyone. My name is Deborah. I've been an English teacher for over 21 years, and in this channel, you're going to learn how to take your English to an excellent level, and also you're going to learn some techniques and curiosities about teaching. What is the best path for you to become a successful English teacher? So I don't know how it happened for most of you, but for me, I usually say that I didn't choose to become a teacher. Rather, I was chosen by the profession. So I had just graduated in biomedicine when I was invited to become an English teacher. Once I got the taste of it, I could never look back, and I decided to take it as my profession, to take teaching seriously as a career. And then the first thing that came to my mind when I decided to actually take up teaching as a career was, okay, I didn't graduate in languages or pedagogy. What do I do now? And this is what this video is going to be about. What is the best choice for you if you have just decided, or if you have decided to become an English teacher some time ago, but you still don't know exactly what to do after that? Well, there are several things you can do. There are several ways you can go. And it all comes down to what is your goal with the language? What is your goal in your profession? What is your goal as a teacher? So if you choose to work in regular schools or bilingual schools, you must have a diploma in the area. Some schools require languages. Some schools require pedagogy, especially if you're working with small children. So this is something you should have in mind. However, if you just like me, if you're working at a language center, this is what I did. I worked at a language center. They didn't require a diploma. They didn't require any formal graduation in the field. I just had like a test to start teaching to check my level of English. And then I had all the necessary training course that I received from the school. If this is your case, you don't need a formal graduation in the area. And then things may come in two different ways here. You say, okay, I don't need to have a formal education in the area, but I want to keep on developing. I want to professionalize myself. I want to be a professional English teacher. What can I do to achieve that? In my case, the path that I chose started with the proficiency exams. So I said, okay, I'm going to be an English teacher. And as such, I want to have the best level I can. I want to keep constantly improving, constantly developing. I don't want to teach just basic students. I don't want to teach just children. I want to go higher. I want to teach advanced students. I want to prepare people for international certificates. And this is how I started. I started taking B2 first by Cambridge. And I'll tell you that I really like Cambridge exams for the simple fact that they don't expire. So if you take TOEFL or if you take IELTS as a teacher, it's not that interesting because after 2 years, you have to take it all over again. Of course, if you have taken Cambridge exams a long time ago and you haven't practiced, you will get rusty. Your English will decline. Your English will get poorer. But if you practice, if you keep on studying, if you keep on teaching, chances are you will keep a very good level of English, especially because after having the certificates, you're going to want to teach more advanced students. And with more advanced students, the more challenges you have, right? So you will keep your English sharp, ideally, all right? And then I decided to start with the B2 first. I had at the time an intermediate level of English. At least that's what I thought. It was an intermediate, like an upper intermediate level of English. I took B2 first and I passed with an A, which was amazing. And then after some time, I kept on working and getting more intermediate students, getting students from a higher level and preparing for C1 advanced. And then after more time, I started preparing for C2 proficiency. Throughout this journey, I started training students and teachers to get their certificates as well. So it turns out that my skills were always very sharp and were always being brushed up because I was working on them constantly, right? I was constantly pushing my boundaries. I was constantly pushing the level that I had to use in English. And this gave me a very good command of the language, a very good authority in the area. I was recognized as a very good model, a role model for some teachers, for the teachers, especially because of my continuous development. And this is what I try to bring to my team, to the teachers who worked with me. We were always having prep courses and discussing language, because I truly believe that this is crucial for any teacher who wants to go beyond average. You know, I never liked the average, not even in my grades at school. I don't want to have an average grade. I want to have the best grade I can. That doesn't mean I need an A or a 10. That only means that I will do whatever I can to have the best grade I can, provided that I don't kill myself in the process, you know, like organically work. This is how it works for me. This is what I tell my students to do. You don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to, you know, put your nose to the grindstone, but you do have to do your best. And when you do your best, good things happen, you know, only the best things happen. Maybe not now, but definitely in the future. So this is what this is the way that I think, and what I always encouraged my students to think as well, and my teachers as well, as I was also training teachers. And throughout this process, throughout the process of learning, of studying, of preparing for Cambridge exams, there was an incredible growth in my language, in my confidence as a teacher, in my ability to understand language and the nuances of language. So this is very special, the subtleties of the language. This is very important, right? I believe that if you are a teacher, you should be no less than a C1 speaker of the language. You have to know what you're doing. You are a teacher. You are impacting lives. Every time you teach something incorrectly, this mistake will be perpetuated. It's gonna go, you know, it's gonna go further. And it's okay, like we all make mistakes sometimes. I make mistakes sometimes, but they are the process of knowing that you are developing, that you are working towards your development, is what allows you to make mistakes. Do you know what I mean? If you're working towards your progress, if you are on the way to the best version of yourself, it's okay to make mistakes. You are in the process. What's not okay is just to settle down for all the mistakes you make and say, you know what, that's it. I'm good with that. You know, this is something that I myself don't accept. And then I decided to use Cambridge certificates to provide me with the credibility, with the authority, with the qualification that I needed to be considered an English teacher, to be considered a successful English teacher, a credible, a solid English teacher. And then after that, after taking all the proficiency exams, I decided to take CELTA. What is CELTA? CELTA is a certificate of Cambridge, again, but this one is specifically for teachers. So it evaluates, it will guide you on your teaching career. While the other exams, B2 First, C1 Advanced, and C2 Proficiency they focus exclusively on the language. CELTA focuses on your teaching skills. It's recommended for teachers, beginner teachers. You don't need to be experienced, although I do recommend you have some experience. This will make the process a little easier. It's going to make the process smoother, but it's not required. It's not mandatory that you have experience in the language. However, it is mandatory that you have at least a C1 level of English, all right? So if you are lower than C1, then you cannot even take it. There is a process in which you are approved or not, you're accepted or not to take the CELTA exam. And the CELTA exam can be done in different ways, can be done in a hybrid mode, in an online mode, in a face-to-face mode. In my case, I took it hybridly. So I had all the theory online, I took all the theory at home, and then for the practical part, this is what we call TP, teaching practice, All the teaching practice were carried out at school with real students. So you have real students, you teach real lessons, and you have a tutor observing everything you do, giving you feedback on the things that worked well, on the things that need improvement, and on your ability as a teacher in general. CELTA is an amazing course because it's going to show you how to teach anywhere in the world. CELTA qualifies you as a teacher anywhere in the world. It's not like that training course that you had at school that's going to qualify you to work at that specific school. When you take a CELTA, you have an overview of different methodologies, of different approaches, of different techniques to teach, and this will open your mind and broaden your view to different ways of teaching. And by doing so, you are qualified as a teacher anywhere in the world. So much so that even cultural aspects are approached on CELTA or in CELTA. For example, I remember there was a class I was going to play a hangman. You know, I always loved playing hangman. And then my tutor said, Deborah, be careful, because in some places, in some countries, this can be a taboo. This can bring a negative connotation, negative feelings. In some places, people used to be hung till not very long ago. And depending on the place, they still are, you know, in extreme cultures. And then I was like, yes, you're right. So this brings awareness for things that otherwise we wouldn't have, right? We just wouldn't think about it. It was just hangman. Here in Brazil, it's pretty common. Everybody does it. We play it very naturally with students, but in other places in the world, it may not be well seen. It may not bring a good impression to class. So I had to adapt, change my lesson, make it more suitable for every culture, not to be offensive to anyone. It was a very enriching experience. CELTA will teach you how to teach regardless of any material. So if you don't have anything to teach, you don't have a book to teach, you can teach by using the walls. You can teach by using a leaflet that you found on the street. You can teach by using nothing, a piece of paper, maybe nothing, your body, your students, you know, anything. Anything can become a class once you learn the techniques. So it was very enriching in this sense, especially because I had been trained at a language school and I could only see teaching through that perspective, you know, using a book, following a methodology, following the steps that I had learned. With CELTA, I learned a completely different approach. I had a completely different perspective of teaching, and that was amazingly enriching. So we've already covered languages and pedagogy, proficiency exams, and now we covered CELTA. Next one in the line is DELTA. So what is DELTA after all? DELTA is the exam that comes right after CELTA. It's not the, I said an exam because there is a test, but it's called a diploma. So if CELTA is Certificate of English Language Teaching for Adults, DELTA is Diploma of English Language Teaching for adults. So it's a step ahead. I haven't taken mine yet, but it's in my plans. It's comprised of 3 different modules, modules 1, 2, and 3, which can be taken independently. This gives a teacher a great deal of authority, a great deal of knowledge. The teacher becomes highly recognized in the market because very few teachers are fully DELTA qualified. I would honestly recommend DELTA for very experienced teachers. I mean, if you are a very experienced teacher and you have enough maturity as a teacher, definitely go for it. It gives you a lot of credibility. It's something very, very important. So much so that it's in my intention. It's something that I want to do as a teacher. I've heard of some people who took DELTA that it's a life-changing experience, that it's a career-changing experience that makes you much more aware of your role as a teacher. Even though for CELTA, you don't need experience, you don't need to be an experienced teacher to take, although it makes the process a lot easier. For DELTA, you need to prove that you have at least 1 year experience to take, to be accepted to take DELTA. So it's a course, it's a diploma, it's a training for more experienced teachers. So depending on where you are right now, depending on your career moment, what you're doing now, where you want to get in the future, your intentions in the future, depending on all of this, you should decide on one path. How are you going to keep developing yourself as a teacher? Are you going to prepare for a certificate, for an international certificate? You want to work for public schools or regular schools? You're going to study languages or pedagogy? No, I'm already an experienced teacher. Now I want to take CELTA. Or there are other options as well, right? We have what we call extensões universitárias. So I, for example, have a teacher's training course called PRO, in which you have all the training course that schools should provide. I received a very good training course when I started teaching. I heard that not everyone has the same opportunity. And if you are one of these people who didn't have enough opportunity to be well trained, there are options in the market, right? Look for trustworthy sources, look for people who have bases to teach you how to do that, all right? Be careful when you choose where you're going to invest your money, your career, and your time. Pro Teachers Training course is a course that works specifically with that. We work with a teacher's training course for teachers, and we cover everything from teaching, how to teach, why teach English, what are the different methodologies and approaches, what is a methodology and an approach, what is a teaching technique, should I teach children, adults, should I assess my students, should I not assess my students, how do I assess my students, should I correct them in class or not, how does it work, do I have homework, do I not have homework? So everything you will have access in the Pro Teachers Training course. So here I just designed for you a very nice path. And again, depending on where you are right now, depending on your moment as a teacher right now, depending on your moment as a language learner right now, you can choose one of these paths. If you need my help, if you want my instructions, write it here in the comment. I'll get back to you and give you my impressions. If you have already taken any of these courses, any of these certificates, let me know in the comments as well. And I'll see you in our next session. Bye-bye.